All right, so let's talk about ways to defeat that narcissist, or the signs that you have defeated that narcissist. Actually, like, okay, you're negotiating with them and you're trying to figure out like how it's going. Are you close? Have you defeated them? Do you think that you're kind of on the way to defeating them? Because sometimes it's maybe hard to tell because they don't want you to know. Obviously, I mean, they want it to look like they're winning at all costs and at all times, and they're never going to let on. I mean, even if they're like losing badly and things aren't going their way, and you're like showing them evidence that things aren't going their way, they're still going to say, I'm winning, I'm winning, it's going my way. It totally is. I mean, because that's how they've gotten along in life all along. You can show them, hey, look, these text messages show that you've been cheating. And nope, that's not what that says. That's how they get along. And I mean, I was actually just talking to one of my private clients recently, and she was telling me that she really appreciated one of my recent videos, which was 4 signs that the narcissist is losing control, which you can check out yourself if you'd like. And she said she loved that video because she was like, okay, like a lot of times, she was saying, I'm afraid. I don't want them to lose control. I'm afraid of doing things that are going to make them lose control. And I don't want that to happen. But actually, she could see that that meant that she was starting to get there, that she was starting to make headway, that she was starting to cover ground, that she was getting closer to her goal of where she wanted to be. So that it was actually okay that in this case she was dealing with a husband, but sometimes you're dealing with a business partner. Or I've actually dealt with quite a few situations where people are dealing with maybe a family member in a probate situation, something like that. But it's okay if they're actually starting to lose control, because that means that they are showing signs of being defeated as well. And so you don't necessarily need to fear that. And also remember that they have conditioned you. They have conditioned you to believe that they are winners, that you don't know what you're doing, that you don't know how to think, that they do, that they're smarter, that you can't trust your thoughts, that you can only trust what they think. They've really conditioned you to believe that. And a lot of times, your thoughts, things that you think are actually your thoughts, are actually thoughts that they have conditioned you to believe. Okay. So 6 signs that you're starting to defeat that narcissist. Number 1 is they're going to start love bombing you again. They're going to start coming back. So, what happens is they start going back to that well of things that worked for them in the past. They don't have a whole lot of tricks in their arsenal. They have their things that worked for them, so they go back to whatever it was that worked for them in the past. I mean, they have these patterns, they have these playbooks that worked. And that's why, it's kind of interesting. I mean, when you start to study what they're like, they're pretty predictable, in the sense that you kind of can tell how they're going to behave, even though it's pretty awful, but you can pretty much tell how they're going to behave. So they'll start off kind of small, and then they'll kind of work up to the things that, when it's really bad defeat. Okay. So, the love bombing might be the first kind of sign. Then the next thing is, okay, that didn't work, so let me go to the next thing. And that's when they start to get a little bit more desperate. So they start to flood you. They start to flood you with the text messages, show up at your house, show up at your office. You might start to see some crazy texts. At this point, you might start to see some, little undertones of not so nice texts, or maybe some even like threatening sort of language in the communications that you're receiving. So that, it's starting to ramp up just slightly. You're starting to feel that heat rise, because they're starting to feel, like it's coming. All right. So that's number 2. Number 3 is they start saying and doing all sorts of weird things. Like this is where you start to see like where they kind of start to get like a little bit desperate, where they start to, you know, get a little bit crazy. And so sometimes you'll start to see them just say weird things like, Okay, where did that come from? Okay. They get a little bit outlandish sometimes. And so that's, you know, how it kind of starts. Like they get a little bit crazier and crazier, 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 crazier. And until they're just, you know, full crazy and into collapse and they've just become undone. And, you know, by the way, the mini series with Hugh Grant and doing great example of that whole thing. And I actually did a whole video on that if you want to check it out. Really great example of that whole thing. And so, okay, so those first three are all about them. It's all about the narcissist themselves. And so those are all signs that you've defeated the narcissist, and that's about the narcissists themselves. So the last three I want to kind of focus on, signs you've defeated the narcissist. I want to focus on you, signs that you've defeated the narcissist, but focusing on you, because that's really when you know that you've defeated the narcissist, because you feel it on this side of the fence. All right. So number 4 is, you know that you've defeated the narcissist because you're no longer emotionally triggered. It's like they say things that normally in the past would have gotten you all like upset. It's like, you know, Superman with the bullets that just pop off your chest, or Wonder Woman, they just like went right off your wrist, and you're like, did somebody say something? I thought I heard something, but nothing. I got nothing. It didn't even like phase me at all. Nothing. Like when you're not emotionally triggered by that at all, you know you've actually defeated the narcissist. Okay. That's number 4. Number 5 is you get what you want. You get what you want in the negotiation, but you've taken your ego out of it. What do I mean by that? That means that you've ethically manipulated the manipulator. They think they've gotten away with something. You've let them on to believe that they won, that they got something out of you, and you actually manipulated them into taking exactly what you wanted them to take. So, and you do your best Meryl Streep or Al Pacino or whatever it is, and you went, oh my God, I can't believe, oh, this is all terrible, you know, whatever. And because you took your ego out of it, because you know what, they have to feel like they won. And that's how it goes. It's okay. It's fine. That's going to be how it is. You know, you have to let them think it's their idea, or whatever it is. Okay, so that's number 5. Number 6, the last one is, this is the best one, really. And that is, you no longer have any fear. You no longer have any fear in interacting with them whatsoever. Not only it's no emotion, you have no fear in interacting with them. You receive emails from them, you see them, you talk to them, you have no fear. And I get so many emails from people who've done my programs, who've watched my videos, all the things that I've told you guys to do. And then you tell me that that's the miracle. Yeah, you've gotten the outcomes you wanted, all those things. But the miracle is that the fear has disappeared. So why am I talking about quantum law and karma and all of these things when I am a lawyer? I'm going to tell you why right now. Because mindset is 50% of winning a negotiation, and intention is a huge part of that. 80% of a negotiation is won before you even walk into the room. Because it comes to your planning and preparation, yes, of course, but it is a huge part of it is your mindset. It is one of the most important parts of it. And mindset also has to do with your thoughts. And your thoughts are energy. And what quantum law says is that whatever energy you're putting out there, that's the energy that you're going to get. Like attracts like. It's just physics. Okay? And so when you are like forming a thought in your mind and you're placing that thought out into the world, you are basically placing an order to the universe. And you're saying to the universe, this is what I want to have happen. This is how I want it to go. So if you say things to the universe like, I'm never going to get that, he or she always gets their way, I can never win, I'm not even going to try to get this particular thing because it's never going to happen. The universe goes, okay, because whatever your little beams of thought are, that energy that you place out into the world, that's what comes back to you. Your thoughts are literally just protons, neutrons, and electrons and ions, all just floating around in your brain. That's all they are. You can't feel them, you can't touch them. As fast as they come into your brain, they can go back out of your brain. Let's just try an experiment right now. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think about a white picket fence. Just hold that in your mind. Now let it go. Is it still there? No, it's not. It's gone. And it's the same thing with your thoughts. The only thing is when you start to have beliefs, that just means that it's a thought that you've thought over and over and over again. And now it's become a belief. And now you just believe that it's true. But it's only because you've been thinking it so many times that it becomes like true to you. But it doesn't mean it's necessarily true. If you want to know more about power thinking when it comes to narcissists, make sure to check out my video called Power Thinking when it comes to narcissists, because making sure you have a powerful mind is going to be so, so important. So what happens when you're harnessing the power of quantum law is you're basically lining up the power of the universe to say, this is how I want it to go. It's almost like you're setting your GPS. And you know, if you're driving from Los Angeles to San Diego and you don't know how to get there, you're going to put a thing in your GPS and you're just going to assume that you're going to drive there. At no point do you go, well, maybe I'm going to get there. Maybe it's going to happen. Maybe not. You know, maybe I'll end up in you know, Oregon or something like that. You don't think that, right? But that's what we do with our thoughts. We go, okay, well, I think I'd like this to happen, but maybe it won't. Maybe I'll end up over here. Maybe I'll end up over there. You can't do that when you are harnessing the power of quantum law, because, you know, the universe of physics is such that it will respond to exactly what you put out there. Like attracts like. That is a physics law. And so your thoughts are going to beam out into the energy, and whatever it is that you put out there is going to come back to you. So the first step in actually beating that narcissist is believing that you can. And not only believing it, but knowing it with every cell of your body that this is how it's going, no matter what. This is the direction that it's going to head. I am going to receive this. I am going to let them know that I am more powerful. They are going to see that they are no longer the more powerful one, that they are no longer the one who's controlling me. I am the one who's in control. I am the one who's in control of my thoughts, my life, my outcomes. And then that's how it ends up going to go. The universe wants to respond to you. It absolutely is at the ready. It's like the soldiers who are just, as soon as you clap, boom, there they are. What would you like? But you have to let them know what it is. Because if you say, I'm never going to win, I shouldn't even bother to try, then that's how it's going to go. And the other thing that's really, really important is that you need to make sure that you are not saying things to the universe that's going to make the universe believe that you're not in control. And by saying things like, I'm a victim, I can never win, or I need a good lawyer, or somebody else has to help me, or I need more money, or all of those kinds of things. You're basically saying to the universe, I don't have it now. I'm not in control. I can't do it. The way things are now, it's not going to happen. And then that's what's going to happen. You've placed that order to the universe. So if you are a winner and you're changing your mindset to be a mindset of a winner, then I want to see I'm a winner in the comments right now. Go ahead, write it. I'm a winner. I want you to start saying that to yourself over and over and over again. That's your mantra. I am a winner. I recently read a book called Untamed by Glennon Doyle, which was really, really great, especially if you're a woman. I don't know, maybe guys would like it too. But it was really a good book. And one of the things that she said was her mantra in that book was, I can do hard things. And, you know, at first I was like, I don't know, I can do hard things. Is that a good mantra? And then I started to like think about it. It was like, okay, now, yeah, if I'm getting ready to do something that maybe feels like a challenge, or maybe I'm afraid of, then, you know, just say to yourself, I can do hard things. And another one that I read one time was a book by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I think the book was Big Love. And we'll make sure we drop links to these books down below if you want to check them out. No obligation, but if you want to check them out, you can. Anyway, in the book Big Love, Elizabeth Gilbert talks about fear. And she talks about how anytime she does something new, she used to say, oh, I have to get rid of fear. I can't have fear come with me no matter what, you know, I've got to figure out a way to like get rid of it. Well, but the truth is that none of us ever completely figure out a way to operate into a new world or a new thing without any fear whatsoever. The courage is doing it in the face of fear, right? Like the cowardly lion in The Wizard of Oz. And so what Elizabeth Gilbert says in that book is that she has learned to go, okay, and like have a conversation with fear and say, all right, fear, we're going on a trip, we're doing this thing, and we're going to get in the car. And, you know, I understand that you're going to have to come along. I would like for you not to come along, but I understand that you're coming along against my wishes. So, okay, fine, fear, you get to come. But you definitely do not get to drive. You have to sit in the back seat. I'm driving. You don't get to drive. You don't get to navigate. You definitely do not even get to touch the radio. You don't get to play the songs. You just have to sit there and shut up while I'm doing this thing and I'm driving. So fear, you're coming, but I'm driving. And I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful analogy. So if you want to use quantum law to beat that narcissist, the thing you have to do is start with your thoughts. Start like pinging into the universe. Remember, like attracts like. So what you ping out pings right back to you. It's like a boomerang. So if you want good things to start coming to you, you better start being very, very aware of the things that you're pinging out into the universe so that the right things start pinging back to you. And that's the way you're going to start the path of beating that narcissist. You're going to remember to defeat narcissists every single time, to knock them dead. D-E-A-D. Because you want to make sure they're really dead. So an extra D on the end. So the first D is to document everything. You want to make sure that you're taking care of every little detail. That means you are keeping track of every text, keeping track of every email, keeping track of when they're late, when they're early, when they didn't show up on time, every single thing, because when you're dealing with a narcissist in negotiations, it's worse than getting arrested, right? Everything you do and say is going to be used against you. Even if they're pretending like, oh, I want to keep this amicable. That's always a trick, because with a narcissist, you're either for them or against them. And if you're against them, then you become public enemy number one. Even if they know deep down inside that they shouldn't be acting like that, they cannot help themselves because they don't trust you. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust anybody. Everybody's an enemy. Remember, they lie all the time. They lie even if they don't need to lie. They lie about things that are readily verifiable. They're constantly looking for that way to get that narcissistic supply. And part of the way that they get supply, don't forget, is manipulating you, seeing you squirm. It's about that game, right? Making sure that you're documenting everything that's happening is going to be very, very important. If you ask them for a schedule change and they said no, they asked you for a schedule change, with the kids, and you said yes, document that, because those kinds of things can become very good trial exhibits down the road. How many times were you agreeable and how many times were they agreeable or not agreeable? Great leverage down the road. All right. So documenting everything, making sure that you're keeping unrelated parties updated about the situation, because you don't know who might be ending up to be a good witness for you down the road as well. Keeping track of financial documents, of photographs, of audio tapes, videotapes, every single thing, because you don't know down the road, patterns end up being good leverage. That's number one of your D. That's your D. Attention to all of you who have ever felt trapped by a narcissist. Are you struggling in a relationship with a narcissist and feeling powerless or paranoid and not sure what to do? It is time to take back control and flip the script on their game. I want to introduce to you the ultimate solution to breaking free from the grip of narcissistic manipulation. Join me for a groundbreaking webinar called The 3 Must-Have Secrets to Communicating with a Narcissist. Hi, my name is Rebecca Zung, and I've been recognized by US News as one of the best lawyers in America, and I'm a globally recognized narcissist negotiation expert. And I spent years studying and mastering the art of negotiating with narcissists. I know firsthand the devastation these relationships can cause, but I also know the key to regaining your power, and I know how to shift the dynamic with these high conflict personalities. In this exclusive webinar, you will discover the 3 essential secrets to go from feeling paralyzed and feeling like a victim to becoming victorious. This isn't just theory. These are proven techniques that I have used to help literally thousands of people go from feeling powerless to feeling victorious and actually breaking free from the grip of narcissistic control.
Hi, my name is Heather, and I have never felt so compelled to give a review as I do now for attorney Rebecca Zung. The strength I had gained and the confidence that I had gained from Rebecca actually allowed me to get a different self-worth and presence in myself. And due to that, I was actually able to pick myself up within, made tremendous difference. And, she has literally changed the situation for me and mostly given me a sense of presence, strength, self-confidence, and well-being that I'm just so grateful for her.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joe Vitale. I know Rebecca Zung. She interviewed me, but I'm also aware of all of her products. What she's doing is saving people who are going through the dark night of the soul. This can be the turning point for you.
Don't let that narcissist have that grip on your life any longer. It's time to rewrite your history and take charge of your future and unlock that power within you. Sign up now for 3 must-have secrets to communicating with narcissists and embark on a transformational journey toward your freedom, toward your empowerment. Break free from the grasp of that narcissist and create the life that you deserve. Join me, attorney Rebecca Zung, narcissist negotiation expert, and let's rewrite your narrative together. Register now at slay.rebeccazung.com and let's take the first step toward your life of victory. Now let's go to E, which is emotions. Keeping them in check. They will definitely come after you and look for that Achilles heel. They're going to look for ways to get you under your skin, to get you upset, to trigger you in some way, because that's how they get their jollies. Remain calm no matter what. Don't show any emotion. You know, you've heard that expression, gray rock. I mean, you can show them compassion, you can show them dignity, you can kill them with kindness, no matter what they say to you. You can be like, oh, I know, I see you, I get it. Oh, that's wonderful. Can I get you some cookies? You know, whatever. I mean, you can just be as lovely as possible. I mean, when faced with accusations, slander, lies, you never confirm, you never deny, you just pretend like you're reporting the news. You're just looking at them. Oh, yes, I see that you just said that. That's very interesting feedback that you just mentioned to me. I heard what you just said. Ambiguity is your best friend. You don't say anything. You don't give any kind of emotional nothing. The more you can just stay out of that, then the better it's going to be for you, because they're looking for that rise. They're looking to get you hooked in. They go fishing and they go baiting you in, and then they use your reactions against you. And as long as they're getting supply, they're never going to leave you alone. That's number 2 is the E, so knocking them dead. DE is emotions. Keep them in check no matter what. Then next is A. Always wear that white hat. So hard. You feel like it's not fair because as you're moving toward court, you feel like, oh my gosh, they're getting away with everything. But let me tell you, there's no getting away with, because it's not until you get to court that things actually happen. It's not like there's little fairies that jump out into your living room and go, hey, you're not allowed to do that. So you have to understand that you have to wear that white hat until you get to a place where it actually matters. While you're waiting for that time, you have to let them do what they're going to do. And yes, it doesn't feel fair, or no, it doesn't feel fair, whatever, I don't know how you say that, but they're going to do the things that they're going to do. You make your documented attempts to resolve issues. You allow them to reject you, you allow them to stonewall you. It just serves as your good faith attempts to try to settle. You allow them to make accusations against you, and you can just say, I mean, you can say that's not true if you want to or whatever, but I wouldn't get too deep into it. Don't defend yourself. Don't explain, don't justify, don't get into the mud, because then they're sucking you in. I would just allow them to say whatever they want. Don't allow them to probe you. Don't allow them to get into it with you. I would just wear that white hat. When they start saying things and lobbing their accusations, let them lose the battles to win the war. Turn the other cheek. Make it look like you are above reproach. Keep yourself high, because what happens is the judge will just see two people fighting. Otherwise, you're just as bad as the other one. But if the judge sees that one person has been the good one and the other person has been the bad one, it makes it a whole lot easier to figure out who's the one that they're not going to like. And, underneath those robes, they're human beings, and they make choices about who's the one that they can believe and who's the one that they can't. So they're looking to see, while they read those messages in Our Family Wizard or whatever, who's the one that always said kind things, who's the one that always agreed to changes, who's the one that was always the good one. So always wear the white hat. And I have a whole video on how narcissists sabotage their own lives. You can check it out. It's called How Covert Narcissists Sabotage Their Own Lives. I would highly recommend that you check it out. And I also recommend that you get my 15-page free ebook, which is at winmynegotiation.com. It's a crush my negotiation prep worksheet. It will help you win your negotiation. So many people have won their entire negotiations just on that. So grab that at winmynegotiation.com. And remember, don't go crazy with asking for stuff that makes you look bad with the judge either. I mean, you want to make sure that what you ask for comports with the law. And again, you're wearing that white hat. You walk that straight and narrow path. All right. You don't want to look antagonistic. You don't want to look like the bully. You don't want to look like you're the one who is just as bad. Let them make their own bet, right? So that is the A. DEA. Now, the first D in Knock 'em Dead. That is, don't go anywhere alone. They're going to look for reasons to try to frame you. They're going to look for reasons to try to make you look bad. So I would definitely try to have witnesses around you as many times as you can, even with your deposition, by the way. If you're going to be deposed, they pull antics. A lot of times, depending on the kind of narcissist that you're dealing with, they make faces. They try to bait you into doing things that emotionally trigger you, that sort of thing. So if you have the extra bucks, I would do a video deposition if you have the money to do that, because you want to just keep them in check if you can. And you want to stay away from giving them opportunities to create false allegations, especially, depending on how crazy emotional they are. They will say, oh, they said this, they did that, whatever. You don't want to give them those opportunities. To the best of your ability, I wouldn't, be alone with them. Right. And by the way, if you need additional support, get the help and support that you need. Make sure you have therapy, you have a friend group, you have people around you who can support you. If you need additional support, make sure you join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. If you need additional help with therapy, we have a sponsor on this channel, which is BetterHelp. You can go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung. We receive commissions on that because they are a sponsor on this channel. You don't pay any extra for that. We just want you to have access to help and support that you can trust. The last D is decoy. Decoy. Why I say this is you never let go of your leverage. You never let go of what your offer is going to be. You never tell them anything until you are ready to tell them what your best evidence is going to be, what your anything else. You just keep them thrown off the scent. And honestly, I wouldn't tell them what it is that you really want ever. Even at the end of the deal, when it seems like you got what you wanted, I would just, do your best Meryl Streep or Al Pacino or whatever it is. Oh my God, I can't believe they got that. Oh, that's terrible. Whatever. And if you got exactly what you wanted, great. Take your ego out of it. Let them think they want. So what? Move on, because you can move on with your life and be happy that you're done. Okay. Because if you can feign ignorance, you know nothing, have nothing, let them suspect nothing, and then you got this, you can move on. You've got freedom. I want you to put that in the comments right now. I got this, because you do. You got this, and you can do this. You're the smarter one. They're not very good with this because their emotions rule them. You can be better than this. Put that in the comments right now. I got this. I got this. The weaker you appear, it'll encourage their aggression and their arrogance or whatever. It'll work to your advantage. Don't show your hand. You can even, maybe throw them off with some bad information. Oh, this is the thing that I really want. Because if you do that, then they'll go after that, whatever thing that it is that you don't actually want. You know that they're irrational. So expect that they will be irrational. Be surprised if they're not, but don't be lulled when they act rational and normal, because you know how they are. Those are just some of the ways. That's how to knock them dead. DEADD. If you do these things, it will help you. It will help you ambush them. It'll help you get what you want in court, and it'll help you be fully prepared for that fight, and it will help you have that power that you want and show the judge who the more powerful one is. The more that you can show that you are the stronger one, the more that you can show that you're capable, the more that you can become the most powerful version of yourself. That is authentic power. Narcissists are never going to have authentic power because they stand in power that's based on a lie, and power that's based on a lie is not real power. But what you're creating now is power that's based in something that's real, and you're creating a resilience that is stronger than anything. And you're becoming the best version of yourself. Fed up with narcissists walking all over you? Sick of everyone believing their lies while you're paying through the nose in attorney's fees? What if you could hold all the cards for a change? Hey, I'm Rebecca Zung. I'm a top 1% trial attorney, a USA Today bestselling author, and I've spent my entire career helping people slay narcissists in negotiations, most recently through my proven slay method. What if your suffering could become your superpower? Imagine turning all that pain into power, not just for you, but for others too. This is your chance to take back control. You can finally win. Become a high conflict negotiation certified coach. Help others while transforming your own life, and do good for the world. This is your chance. Go to RebeccaZung.com/apply, and I'll show you how to turn the tables for good starting today. Honestly, and that's something that I recently just talked about. The dopamine that goes back and forth, between the love bombing and the devaluing. That's
Right.
what actually causes that trauma bond too.
Well, exactly. Because we get addicted to the dopamine hit, and we're
Exactly.
constantly seeking it.
Exactly.
And they're the supply. They are the supply of our
They are the supply.
They have absolute power
Absolutely.
over our, over our effects.
Exactly. And so you become addicted to them.
That's right.
So between the dopamine and the cortisol, dopamine, cortisol,
We're a
you are
mess.
so destabilized. You are a hormonal mess.
That's right.
Because
That's
of-
right. Because of them.
Yes.
Right. And it's so hard. But if, and this is why some of, what I talk about a lot, and I talk about in the book a lot too, is that I don't want to focus on them and what they're doing. And,
Right.
Is he a narcissist? Is he just an asshole? Is it abuse? I focus really, how do you feel? How do you feel in this relationship? Right? Do you feel destabilized? Do you feel like you're going crazy? Do you feel like you're always sick? Do you have brain fog? Right? Let's take the focus off of them, because first of all, we can't control them, and we can't necessarily, we can't take enough of a magnifying glass to them for it to make sense to us, because it doesn't make sense. But what we can do is turn that on ourselves and turn, put down the magnifying glass and pick up the mirror, as they say, and really look at like, how do I feel in this relationship? And, often the narcissist or the abuser will say, well, you just feel that way because you're fucked up. And ask yourself, have you ever felt like this in any other relationship? Have you, right? And sometimes the answer is yes, because we tend to choose, right? But I will say that the person I became in my marriage, I had never been that person. I'd never felt that way. I may have been in like messed up relationships and other narcissists and addicts and all of the things, right? Because that was my history and that was my trauma. And I had never felt like this. And I'd never felt like that since. So there's information there, right? And I also look at the other people, I ask my people to look at the other person, like, have all of their relationships been like this? Because usually the answer is yes, like they have like a trail of destruction behind them. It's not you.
Right. Right. And so when you're asking yourself that and you think, okay, what's the first step?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. And now you think, oh, okay, I do probably have to get out of this thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it scares the crap out of me.
Sure. It is. It's terrifying because they have made you believe that they are your air and water and that in overt or covert ways, usually more covert, like you don't have anything without them.
Mm-hmm.
They've taken away your sense of self and self-esteem. So the first thing that needs to be done is that you've got to get into trauma therapy, whatever you do, whoever you work with, whether it's a coach, whether it's a therapist, it has to be with someone who understands narcissistic abuse.
Totally.
And is trained in it.
Very rare.
Very rare. And so you really want to make sure that, because, this is what, the sort of the legacy of couples therapy, right? Is that like, oh, we're going to take a neutral stance and it's both parties and blah, 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 blah. And abuse is not a relationship issue. It's not a communication problem. It's an abuser problem. So you need and I outline the work that I do with my clients in my book about really reconnecting with self. Because we have lost it. We have completely lost our capital S self. And so there are steps that you can take. There are exercises that you can do that will help you reconnect with your sense of self, your capital S self. That is your authentic self. That is who you are at your core. And that's really important work. And I think that's the first step, really. And sort of once you start to feel stronger, right, you also have to disconnect from this person as much as possible. Now, sometimes you're doing, sometimes you need to do that work in order to recognize that you're in this toxic relationship, right? Because then it becomes wow, that doesn't fit, and you start to see a little bit more clearly. But with this like the trauma bond and the dopamine rush and all of the stuff, like you can't do the healing. You can't heal from the person who's traumatizing you while you're still being traumatized by them.
100%. But I will say, don't feel guilty. Don't feel bad about yourself if you're still in the relationship
100%.
and
That's right.
And you feel like, okay, I can't get out of this. What do I do? I mean, what I say to people is, okay, the very first step is the very first boundary that you can create is, and if this is all you can do, this is a really good first step. And that is, you can decide today that you can be spoken to with respect. And that is a really good first step.
Yeah. And you can't control whether they're going to speak to you with respect.
No,
right?
but you can decide that you don't have to stay in the room.
Mhm. That's right.
You can get
Yes,
up and say, you know, what I say is just start looking at them as if they're a third, like a child having a tantrum on the
that's
floor.
right. Mhm.
Start looking at them as if, you know, and start observing their behavior to them. I can see that you're upset. I can see that you're angry. Just start observing their behavior to them.
Mhm.
Put an invisible shield down around yourself and
Mhm.
just like imagine that you have like Teflon on that and just
Right.
say, you know, we can continue this conversation when you have calmed down.
Mhm.
And you do not have to remain in a room when somebody is yelling at you, screaming at you, disrespecting you. You just don't.
Right. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, and I think, when I say disconnect from the person, you can disconnect from them while being in a relationship with them.
Yeah.
You can detach yourself, and it's a really hard thing to do. Um, this is about it's about radical acceptance. It's about really accepting who this person is and that it is who they are. It's not who you are, it's who they are, and that they're not going to change. They're just not. And so if you accept that and you like you said, have an invisible shield, your Teflon, I think that there's work to be done to get to that point, right? It's not all that easy to just be like, oh, now I'm going to disconnect from them, right? There's a shift that happens, and it's a very specific shift from like trying to get them to change, or trying to get yourself to change, or trying to do something to fix it. From that to, oh, right, this is not actually fixable. This is what it is. This is what it is to be in a relationship with this person. If I can't leave them because of finances, whatever it is, right? You don't have to leave. But if you have to stay, the protection, the wall, the boundary between like, oh, they're just doing what they're going to do, and they're going to keep doing what they're going to do. And so I can't control that. The only thing I can control is myself, which is walking myself out of the room, which is taking up my hobbies and going out, 3 nights a week, if that works, with childcare or whatever. Um, but but having it, moving to that place of accepting, oh, this actually isn't going to change. So now I'm not going to beat my head up against a brick wall trying to get it to change. I don't need to do that anymore. So now I can just live my life. I can live it in the same house if it's safe for me to do so. Right. But I think it starts with that acceptance of, and really, really, really understanding that, no, this isn't going to change. It's just not.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like the Arya Stark of like, not today, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe I'm not going to leave today, but you know, not today. Are you going to be, you know, like this with me? You know, not today. Am I going to allow this? You know,
Mhm.
it's sort of like the baby steps of it. Just baby steps. Just
Right. That's
baby
right.
steps. And I feel like it's so much easier for people to just baby step it, because it's like, oh my God, I can't leave and I can't move it, you know, and that way it's like, okay, but maybe someday you might,
That's right.
but just for today,
Right.
small,
That's
small,
right.
you know, just start
Mhm.
looking at them as if they're a toddler having a tantrum on the floor. You're going to start seeing them in a different light today.
Mhm.
Just baby steps, baby
Right.
steps.
And taking each of those baby steps, like if you can't leave, it's okay, but you can take those baby steps so that you don't feel stuck or stagnant,
Yeah.
right? You can do things like have a consultation with an attorney. What
Mhm.
might things look like? You can start to reconnect with the friends and family that you may have been isolated from,
Yeah.
without, fear of reprisal. You
Yeah.
can, like, there's little baby steps that you can take that feel like you're getting your life back. So
Yeah.
you don't feel stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what the difference is between that and the situation that you're in now is that you are making a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point you're saying, you know what? I'm choosing today, instead of feeling completely stuck,
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm choosing to stay today.
Right. I'm
I'm
here because I choose to.
Yeah,
Because,
exactly.
because that's part of my strategy. My
Exactly.
strategy. Not because
Exactly.
I'm stuck, not because I'm manipulated, not because I have chosen
Yes.
strategically that for today, I'm in this
Yes.
and I'm going to use it to my advantage, or,
Yeah.
or even not to your advantage, but at least not be like, you're not going to be destroyed for another day.
Yes. I have a plan. I'm
Right.
choosing. It's sort of like you get to take back your agency,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it just makes you feel better about it for that
Yes,
day.
that's right. That's right. And look, there are some people for whom that this is not safe, right? Because as soon as you start to take back aspects of your own life, there will be punishment. There will, right? But if it's the silent treatment, or being, side-eyed, or like if it's passive aggressive stuff, like that's when you get to look at them and be like, you're a toddler, and have a nice tantrum. I'm going out. And there are people for whom that is dangerous. And if there's any danger involved in this, I do not recommend it. I think it's important to say that at that point you need to seek the help of your local domestic violence shelter. I also like to, people think that a shelter means they have to run away and go and stay, like in Maid. You don't. Domestic violence shelters are full of domestic violence advocates. They will help you. They have legal aid available. They have people who can advise you in your area. So that's not just for people who are trying to flee. There's a lot more that they do. So it's important to, and it's important to know that they also don't just deal with physical violence. That's financial abuse, all the kinds of abuse that go along with this. They can help with.
Yes, for sure. And I'm glad you brought that up. Both the fact that, to go get help if you need it, and also the types of help that are available, for sure.
Yeah.
And the thing is that narcissists are, there has been arrested development in the limbic system of their brain, and so it is narcissism is a result of trauma.
That's right.
And so you do have to understand that when there is a shift in the relationship, there is going to be a shift back. And they have conditioned you, and you're basically going to be conditioning them back when you shift. And so it is sort of like, if any of you out there have children, you understand that when they had, when toddlers have a tantrum, what happens with toddlers is, they feel like, okay, if I just need to scream louder, if I just need to kick more, if I just need to, do this a little bit more, mommy and daddy, you're just going to give me what I want. And that's exactly what's happening with narcissists. So they are the worst right before they're ready to give up. I mean, that is the truth. And so they will act a little bit worse and a little bit worse when you start being different, when they start feeling a shift in the wind. That's okay. That actually means that what you're doing is working. And that's actually a good sign.
Right. And like when the toddler screams and yells more and more and more is not the time that you give them the cookie.
No.
Right. If they want the cookie and they're screaming and they're screaming and they're escalating and they're escalating and they're escalating, good parenting, and we've all done it, right? But good parenting dictates that that's not the time that you reward the behavior. And so when the similar thing with a narcissist is that when they're screaming and screaming and screaming and screaming, that is not the time that we go, oh, okay, you're right, I'll stay. Or I won't go out tonight, or right. But again, when they get, they tend to abuse to the degree that they maintain power and control. And if they're losing power and control, that is when they escalate, and that's when it can become more dangerous. So it's, it's very tricky, and we do have to be careful. But also, if you know that this is not you're not in physical danger, then yeah, like this is not the time. I talk about this all the time with people telling their spouse they want a divorce, right? I lay this out very clear, lay it out in the book. I have lots of information on this, that, they're going to have a temper tantrum, and it is just like a toddler, where you say, I know exactly what you said. I know that this is hard for you. I understand that this is not what you want. Unfortunately, this is my final decision.
Yes. And I'm glad that you brought that up too, because a lot of times the threats that they make during divorce are not,
they're not based in reality.
In any sort of reality. Any sort of reality.
Right. This is why I tell women all the time, and I talk about it in the book, like, go and get yourself educated. Get yourself, learn what the laws are in your state before you have this conversation. Because when they say, I'm going to take the kids, you're never going to see them again, you can go, okay, that's not how things work, but I understand you're upset. Because so many women that I talk to say, well, he said he's going to take the kids and I'm never going to get any money. And I have to say, honey, that's literally not how it works. It's literally not how it works. And, meanwhile, they've stayed for another 5 or 10 years because that's what he keeps saying. Well, that's his abuse tactic. He's abusing you into staying by lying to you. Your job now is to get informed. You need to get information, actual legal information. Educate yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I just had this conversation with somebody recently who was concerned about getting certified in my certification program because they were worried that this person, the other narcissist, was saying, oh, if you get certified, then I'm going to use that against you because you can, I'll use that as proof that you are using that as a, what did they say? It was something with, you're using that to disparage me.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to use that as proof of, I don't know, some sort of tort or something. And I said, they actually would have to prove actual damages. And, I said, you'd actually have to say something bad about her. And which I don't think you're actually going to do. And I said, and if you actually did, then truth would actually be a defense. And I said, but then she'd actually have to prove damages. And like, there's so many different layers of that.
So many layers to it that, like,
and I said, when you actually break it down to what's so and what are the actual facts of that, it's all like they prey upon fear. They prey upon fear.
They do. And they prey upon being the only one with information, pretend information, right? They bank on us not actually knowing the truth and the facts. And so your best defense is to actually know all the facts and information. I hear this a lot, and I'm sure you do too, with people who are scared to go to therapy or go on medication. He says that if I go on medication, then I'm scared to go on medication because then the court's going to think I'm crazy. And I'm like, or you look like someone who is responsibly taking care of yourself. I was like, in today's day and age, like, we're not really not going to court over someone getting on, Zoloft or
Lexapro or whatever.
Lexapro, like whatever it is, right? Yeah. We're not like, that's not, judges like literally do not care about that. In fact, it looks like you are but like, I don't want to go to therapy because then I'm going to look, no, go to therapy. You look good.
Yeah.
Go to therapy because you
Wait,
look like someone
everybody's in
who's
therapy these days. I mean, come on.
right. And if you're not in therapy, frankly, I think that's a problem,
Yeah.
So, and also, there's the like, yeah, I need to be on medication because I have like I'm clinically depressed from the relationship I'm in, and I'm trying to get out of it. I mean, there's just so many things that, and the you're not going to get any money, and I'm going to take your kids are just huge words
Yeah.
that are
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to lose the house. Right.
right,
Yeah.
right,
I mean, there's so many things like that. If I leave the house, then I'll lose my rights to the house. I mean,
right.
I won't get any money
I
from the
won't get any money. It's abandonment of property. That's not what that means.
no.
Right? Like,
Like, yeah. I mean, if your name is on the house, you still get your half
it's
of the house.
marital property. It's marital property, period. If it's marital property, it's marital property.
Exactly. Yeah. I
Ugh,
mean, so I mean, there's so many things like that that they say and that they scare people to death.
that's
I mean,
right.
so you have to just, I always say, focus on focus on the facts.
Right.
Don't listen to what they're saying. They want to scare you. They want to scare you.
Right.
And so just don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. And let me tell you, this is a thing that I say all the time. You knew that they were a liar during the marriage. They're certainly not going to start telling you the truth during the divorce.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I mean, come on.
Insanity. It's insanity to think that the person you're divorcing who has been abusing you for years and lying to you for years is going to be giving you correct legal advice.
Yeah, it's going to be to your benefit during the divorce.
Right. Not at all.
Not at all. I mean, they're not on your side now. They weren't on
Right.
your side during the marriage. They're certainly not on your side during the divorce.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And it's, but it's so hard because of the gaslighting to separate, because their quote, their truth has been the truth for all these years. It's hard to sort of put that boundary in place in your mind to understand that, like, oh no, what they have not been telling me the truth. They will not tell me the truth. Um, their truth is not truth. And so it feels subversive and it feels scary to like go and like have a consultation with an attorney behind their back. Like, yeah, it is subversive and scary. And it's also necessary.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We often talk about red flags we should avoid, but what if we focus more on green flags in friends and partners? Whether you're dating, married, building a friendship, or just working on yourself from time to time. So how about we work on the relationships that are going to love you back, including yourself? I know for me, therapy has been absolutely game-changing and learning how to love myself, set boundaries, and overcome all sorts of blocks I didn't even realize I was creating for myself. I just knew I wanted to be the best version of myself that I could be. What I love about BetterHelp is that they make therapy totally accessible and convenient. The network is totally diverse, more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Plus, if you don't gel with one, you can just easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/negotiate today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/negotiate. All right, so let's dive into how to defeat narcissists in a legal way, but almost should be illegal. So the first thing is that you've got to set boundaries. I always say, put that invisible shield down around you, and it's like an invisible bubble. And now you are protected. You're protecting yourself so that you no longer are triggered by them emotionally. You want to achieve emotional mastery first things first. And you want to develop a line upon which they are not allowed to cross. You are setting it up that there's a new game here in town. So you're switching that dynamic of power. So step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. So step 1 is you're creating these boundaries because they've been conditioning you from the beginning, and you don't want to set yourself up for that anymore. So you are saying, this is a boundary. It cannot be crossed. It cannot be manipulated. I'm no longer tolerating where I'm not going to be respected. I'm not going to be confrontational. This is how it's going to go. If you are in a high conflict divorce, rather than engaging with them emotionally, they're going to try to violate agreements. They're going to try to get away with not having to give you any kind of documentation. They're going to make everything your fault. Just make sure that you're documenting everything. Texts, emails, unscheduled visits or missed visits or late payments, whatever it is, so that they will eventually be setting themselves up for failure because you're just going to use their own behavior, their own words against them. They're going to build an invisible fence around them that they're not even going to realize is there until it's too late. So you're going to have this documentation that you can use in a mediation, in a four-way setting, in any kind of conflict resolution setting, and make sure that that documentation is rock solid, it's complete, it's concrete, it's undeniable. And then you can use like my curated GPT, which is part of my SLAY program, and you can actually feed it with all of your information, all of your documentation, and it will create for you how to build that leverage. If you're in a workplace setting and they're trying to manipulate you, your time, your energy, you want to politely say, these are my job responsibilities, these are my duties, make sure you are fulfilling on them completely, and then have documentation about when they're attempting to cross them. All right. So set legally enforceable boundaries in a way that avoids direct conflict, but leaves a paper trail of evidence that works in your favor. Fed up with narcissists walking all over you? Sick of everyone believing their lies while you're paying through the nose in attorney's fees? What if you could hold all the cards for a change? Hey, I'm Rebecca Zung. I'm a top 1% trial attorney, a USA Today bestselling author, and I've spent my entire career helping people slay narcissists in negotiations, most recently through my proven slay method. What if your suffering could become your superpower? Imagine turning all that pain into power, not just for you, but for others too. This is your chance to take back control. You can finally win. Become a high conflict negotiation certified coach. Help others while transforming your own life, and do good for the world. This is your chance. Go to RebeccaZung.com/apply, and I'll show you how to turn the tables for good starting today. The second thing is using their ego against them as leverage. They always overplay their hand. They always go too far. It's their need to feel superior, their need to continue to manipulate and control. And they don't see long game. They only see short term. And you're going to use this to your advantage, especially in a legal or negotiation setting. If you're in a divorce or a business negotiation, a narcissist's overconfidence leads them to believe that they're going to win no matter what, that you're always going to be the less powerful one. Let them think that they're outsmarting you. Let them think that whatever, while you build your case. Agree to minor concessions if you need to. Fluff up their ego if you need to. I call it fluff for favor, vomit later. But then you quietly build your stronger case through your documentation, through forensic accounting, through expert witnesses, whatever you need to do. Their ego is going to blind them to the fact that you are like the tortoise and the hare. You're the tortoise who's actually pulling ahead of them. If it's a work situation, if you're in a professional context, if this narcissist is dominating meetings, trying to take credit for your work, let them think they're in control while you keep records of every idea, contribution, communication that's necessary so that you build your case. And when the time comes, calmly present the evidence to whoever you need to present it to demonstrate what the truth actually is. And they're not going to believe that you have such thorough documentation. So the takeaway on this is use their overconfidence to lull them into complacency while you gather the tools that you need to expose them later. And you know that they always lie, they always act poorly, they always do things that give you so much evidence. And if you know that this is true, put "so true" in the comments below. The next thing is weaponizing facts and evidence in cases. Narcissists thrive on manipulation, but they can't twist the truth when the facts are solidly documented. In legal settings, facts and evidence are the ultimate power. A narcissist might try to hide assets in a divorce, but if you gather all the right financial records, offshore bank accounts, whatever, it's always easy to follow the path. I mean, in today's world, it's always easy to find some thread of a path. And presenting irrefutable evidence makes it impossible for them to gaslight or manipulate the narrative. I've seen narcissists go from confident to completely panicked when confronted with undeniable proof. If it's a workplace situation that you're dealing with, it's a boss or it's a colleague, that they've been undermining your work, documenting every interaction is key. Keep detailed email chains, meeting notes, project timelines. If they ever try to discredit you or claim responsibility for your work, you have hard evidence to protect yourself or even use with HR or legal proceedings if necessary. Facts are your greatest weapon. Narcissists rely on emotional manipulation, intimidation, bullying tactics, but they can't win when the evidence speaks louder than their lies. So if you've dealt with this, give me a "so true" in the comments, and also share your experiences in the comments. And if you want a really great guide to get started with documentation, go to docthenarc.com, docthenarc.com, and get my free guide on what to start documenting with narcissists, docthenarc.com. You want to have really good documentation. You want to have really good boundaries. You want to use their egos against them. And then you end up weaponizing the facts to potentially expose them. And that's how you create leverage. And that's the plan to defeat narcissists that actually works. I've helped people all around the world in many, many countries, in lots and lots of places, and it definitely works. Everybody's going to be hanging on their seat today for what? The one simple thing that's going to be guaranteed to defeat that narcissist. Well, let's talk about the things that we think will defeat narcissists, right? Because everybody talks about the things that they think. Boundaries, of course, they hate boundaries. They want to maintain their sense of control, of course, because that is the one thing that they go after from the beginning through their love bombing, which, of course, love bombing has nothing to do with love. You know that everything that they do is a manipulation. I mean, let's talk about, first of all, what is going on with the narcissist, because this leads up to that one simple thing that is guaranteed to defeat that narcissist. You got to understand how a narcissist thinks. You got to understand what's going on inside of them. And this is really, really important because I do teach you how to strategically deal with narcissists. I teach you how to negotiate with them. I want you to have real resources. I want you to understand how to communicate with them in a powerful way. I want you to understand how to be able to stand in your power. That is the most important thing. I mean, this is not just about what to say to that narcissist in your life. You understand that, right? This is all a psychological game, all of this. What they're doing with you is psychological. What you have to do back is psychological. You get that, right? All of this is all psychological. The way they handle you is psychological. So the way you have to handle them back is psychological also. You're going to do it in a much, much smarter way. The thing about narcissists is they're one-trick ponies. They're not actually very smart about the way they handle things. And the reason why is because they're actually very, very fear-based beings. Everything they do is on a house of cards. They're very worried about being exposed all the time. And if you are constantly hiding something, you're constantly worried about being exposed all the time, somebody's always got leverage over you. Somebody's always got a way to be able to poke at you. The person who has nothing to fear, the person who's got nothing to hide, the person who's ready to walk away, that person always has more leverage. Always. The narcissist always has something to fear, always has something to hide, because they've got this fear in them. They're very afraid of being abandoned, and they're always very afraid of being exposed. The person on the other side, even though they've constantly are working their wiles to try to make you think that, they're the more in control and the more powerful one, is really a racket. It's really a scam that they're running. The fact of the matter is, even if you're dealing with, a bazillionaire person who's got all their minions and kingdom around them, if you're dealing with a true narcissist, their power is fleeting. It's not authentic, because inside they feel fragile. You're dealing with a very, very fragile being. The true person who has power, real authentic power, the person who truly stands in who they are, is far more powerful and vibrates at a far higher level of power than the person over there who's low vibration all the time. I can just tell you that that's what you're dealing with when you're dealing with a narcissist. It's a true house of cards. It's constant fragility. Going back to the question here, the one true thing that can defeat a narcissist, yes, it is boundaries, and yes, it is leverage. And yes, it is, my whole SLAY methodology, strategy, leverage, anticipating, and focusing on you and your power and your mindset and all of those things, 100% all of those things in my SLAY program, because you can always use all of those things against them. How they lie, how they exposing them potentially, all the different forms of narcissistic supply. I teach you all that stuff in my SLAY program, by the way. By the way, if you're dealing with a narcissist and you want a free copy of my Crush My Negotiation Prep worksheet to get you started, go to crushmydeal.com and get my free ebook. It's 15 pages. Get it and get started with your negotiations. It will help you tremendously. Okay, so go get that and get started. And if you need support, by the way, go to my Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. That will help you too. You have a huge support group in there, which will help you tremendously. But the one true simple thing that will definitely defeat the narcissist is themselves. First of all, they will take themselves down to take you down. They will, because they're emotionally not regulated. Because they're emotionally not regulated, they will often go berserk and crazy. You can bait them into doing things. They will lie about everything, and all of their lies end up being great leverage. They have always these opportunities for potential exposure, which, and I don't mean in a blackmail sense. I mean in the sense that there's always some kind of somebody that they don't want their things known about. And I just mean in a way that is completely legal, completely above board, things that you can use if you're in a legal sense, things that you can do in the legal system or in a negotiation sense, ways that you can ethically manipulate the manipulator. It's always themselves that takes themselves down. Their ego gets the best of them. I mean, you can look at many examples in history where that happens. I know it doesn't seem like it when you're dealing with them, but if you look at ways to create that strategy, it always is the case. That's how it goes. It's karma. There are actually ways that you have already started defeating the narcissist. I know you don't think there are, but I'm going to tell you that there are ways that you've already started defeating the narcissist, believe it or not. And there are signs that you have. So stay tuned and make sure you stay till the end, because I want you to start noticing the signs as you start progressing all the way to the end, when you start looking back and you know that they're in your rear view mirror. Okay? Because I've helped people escape. And I want to help you too. All right. Number one, they wanted you to suffer. They started all the way at the beginning when they started love bombing you, when they started coming on super strong. They start off with the love bombing, and then they go into devaluing, and then they go into the discard phase. They have like these 3 phases. And this is, by the way, their pattern, whether they are in a business relationship, a romantic relationship. I mean, no, it doesn't matter who they are. They're like really one-trick ponies. They have like one set of ways of going about things. And so it doesn't matter who you are, they are how they are, because they feel like that black hole of emptiness inside of them. They really are trying to fill that emptiness. So they're like vultures looking around. Where's the best source of supply? You were the one that they found to fill that source of supply. And I always say this, and if you're new to my channel, then you may not have heard me say this before, but they didn't attach themselves to you because you had so little value. They attached themselves to you because you had so much value. Yeah. I know they started devaluing you right away, but they attached themselves to you because you had so much value. So, they came on super strong and they wanted you to suffer. They wanted you to suffer and they wanted to get you under that control. Okay. But what are you doing here? You are getting educated. You are getting enlightened. You're figuring it out. So you're already starting to defeat them because you're figuring it out. That's number one. They wanted you to suffer, but you are getting educated instead. And your eyes are getting more and more opened every single day. The fact that you have access to channels like this, that you have access to education like this, you now know what's happening. So that's one way that you've already started defeating the narcissist. So that's number one. The number one way that you've already started defeating the narcissist. And by the way, of course, I'm saving the best one till the end. So you got to stay till the end. All right. Number two, the number 2 way that you've already started defeating the narcissist is that they wanted to get you away from all of your family, all of your friends, get everybody lined up against you, make you think that you're totally alone. They used words like everybody else thinks this and nobody else thinks that. By the way, I have a whole video on the narcissist favorite catchphrases, which you should definitely check out. But what are you doing here? You are finding a community of people. And if you want to know more about a community of people, if you don't have a support system, definitely check out my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung, totally free. There are so many people in there that are supporting each other, okay? That's one way that you can get started. And by the way, if you want to get more education, I didn't mention this in number 1, but you can get my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. You can definitely do that. And if you are struggling and you don't have access to some help and you need access to a mental health system or an online therapy, I do have partnership with BetterHelp. They do sponsor me. They do sponsor this channel. And you can go to betterhelp.com/Rebecca Zung and get the support and help that you need. We do receive commissions on anybody who goes and gets their help. It doesn't change your price, and we only endorse services that we trust. So please don't sit out there alone. Please go get the help that you need. So that is something that you can do. Okay. Just do it. Okay. So I'm going to tell you to put that in the comments right now. Just do it as your mantra. Just do it. Go start getting the help that you need. Okay. So that's number 2. They wanted you to be isolated, but you're out here finding a community, and there are ways to find that community. Okay. So that's number 2. Number three, when you start noticing that you're no longer feeling as triggered, when you start to get those text messages, or when you start to get those emails, or when you start to see how they're behaving, because you recognize that it's just them being themselves, then you are getting better. You are starting to defeat that narcissist. When you're no longer as emotional, when you're no longer as triggered, because you're able to start seeing it as them being a narcissist, when you're starting to turn it as you observing, then you're starting to defeat that narcissist. That is one really huge way, one really huge sign that you know that you're starting to defeat that narcissist, when you're starting to be able to see it through the lens of an observer, because you're noticing, you know what? I'm not going to take this personally because I see them for who they are. And one book, by the way, that I highly recommend to everybody is The 4 Agreements. It's 4 agreements that you make with yourself. And one of the agreements is you never take anything personally, because it's people treat other people. It's always a direct reflection of the way they feel about themselves. Okay. So that's number 3. Number 4 is they wanted you to believe that they were all powerful inside, but you're starting to see them for the weak, pathetic person that they are inside. They're like, oh, I'm so powerful and I'm this, that, and the other thing. And you're starting to see that weak, false self that lives inside of them. You're seeing that the two sides of them. And by the way, I have a whole video on that exact topic, which you should definitely check out. So that's number 4. Number five, which you should definitely know, and you know you're going to get there. And that is, you have no more fear in dealing with them. They're just another person. They're just another person on the street. By the way, I have a whole video. It's called "This is the Only Type of Person That a Narcissist Respects." I highly recommend that you check out that video as well. So those are the 5 ways that you know that you've already defeated the narcissist. I know that you are at least at the first couple of steps, because you're here, you're already watching this video, you're getting the education, you're already starting the process. Okay, so kudos to you. Give yourself a huge pat on the back for being here. So today we're diving into a topic that's incredibly important and often overlooked, and that's how to unmask the covert narcissist, because they are honestly, I think, the most dangerous ones, because everybody thinks they're so wonderful, so beautiful, so nice, so lovely and sweet and kind, and often even like the victim. And how do you accelerate their downfall in court? Covert narcissists hide behind a veneer of humility and charm and they make it difficult to expose their true nature. But with the right strategies, you can reveal their manipulations and turn the legal tide in your favor. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing my secrets in helping you do just that. And I've been recognized as one of the best lawyers in America by US News. I've been a trial lawyer for many, many years, and I started studying narcissism so I could beat them in the courtroom. And I'm here to help you win too. So let's understand the covert narcissist tactics. First of all, what makes a covert narcissist so dangerous in a legal setting? Unlike overt narcissists who are loud and obvious in their self-importance, covert narcissists are much more subtle. They present as victims, misunderstood, overly humble. This makes them incredibly difficult to expose because their manipulations are cloaked in a guise of innocence. They've got this, poor me, poor me. And they use tactics like gaslighting, just like all narcissists do. They play the victim, and subtle manipulation like passive aggression to get others like judges, attorneys, and others to see them as the innocent party. I always call them the pearl grabbers. What? Me? What? I would never. They're experts at hiding their true intentions. This is why unmasking them requires a skill and a very highly strategic approach. All right. So, what you have to do is you've got to gather specific evidence, specific documented evidence. And the first step in accelerating the downfall of a covert narcissist in court is to gather specific documented evidence because they operate in the shadows. You need to bring their behavior into the light with hard facts. This includes emails, text messages, recordings, social media posts, witnesses, any other documentation that you've got that shows a pattern of manipulation, shows a pattern of deceit, a pattern of abuse. And then you put it together with summaries, a summary of lies, manipulation, of any kind of summary that you can put together. And then you're going to have folders. You're going to organize them by the statute, or you're going to organize them by email. You're going to organize them by timeline. And you are going to have these highlighted by patterns of behavior. So if they have a habit of sending out passive aggressive emails or making veiled threats, you're going to compile these into a timeline that demonstrates their ongoing manipulation. This makes it much harder for them to dismiss each as something that's, what are you talking about? You're reading into that. That's an isolated incident, or that's not what I meant, or that sort of thing. Now, when it all stacks together, it's obvious that that was a way that they have been, right? It is a manipulation. It is something that's been ongoing. So now let's talk about the power of witness testimonies. Covert narcissists often rely on their ability to charm and manipulate those around them, but they can't fool everyone, and they can't fool everyone forever. And there will be people in their lives, whether it's family members or old friends or people they've known for a long time, co-workers, who are going to be willing to come forward, who've seen glimpses into their true nature. And that's where you gather these witness testimonies, and you gather these people who are willing to come in or testify, or willing to put together a sworn statement, or who are willing to get on the record and say, I've seen this. And these can be game changers in court. These testimonies can corroborate your documented evidence and provide the judge with a clearer picture of the narcissist's true character. And make sure that your witnesses not only are well prepared, but they also are people who are going to present well. They have a good character. They are people who are well spoken, and people who are going to hold up on cross-examination, okay? And they understand the importance of their testimony in court in unmasking the covert narcissist. They know where you're going. They know the goal of what their testimony is supposed to be. Strategic cross-examination is the next part. One of the most effective tools in your arsenal is the strategic cross-examination of the covert narcissist. The goal here is to expose their lies and manipulation by asking precise leading questions that forces them to reveal their true nature and then cross contradict themselves. They've already testified, they've done their direct examination. Now it's your lawyer's turn to ask them pointed questions. So you want to make sure that you've done your homework to provide your lawyer with everything that they need, because it's going to be based on the facts. But then your lawyer, or you, if you're representing yourself, has to make sure that they ask yes or no questions. You don't ever ask questions that you don't know the answers to. You make sure that it's going to be very, very super tight, airtight, because they're very skilled at evading questions. So you want to stay really tight within these questions. You know the answers right away. If you allow them to slither out, they will. So make sure that you prepare it ahead of time. But this is where you can expose them. This is where they can start to panic. This leads to mistakes, and this is where you can start to have them reveal their true nature and the mask starts to whip off. It can actually kind of be fun when you really start to see it happen, to be honest with you. I've seen it happen many times in trials and in court, and it's actually very, very interesting to see it happen in real time unfold. The next thing is highlighting the impact on others. When you can highlight the impact of their behavior on other people, including the children, financial disputes, or professional relationships, judges are more likely to sit up and take notice if they can see the real world consequences of the narcissist's behavior on others. For example, if their manipulations have negatively affected your children, make sure to bring this to the court's attention. It's not just they've been awful or whatever. You've got to have documentation, financial harm, documented records, medical records, something that shows facts. All right. You can't just say they're a terrible person. Show it through facts. It's really, really helpful if you can demonstrate it through psychological facts, medical facts, financial records. That's where now the judge sits up and takes notice. All right, if this is helpful so far, give me a so helpful in the comments below, and make sure that you join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Grab my free Crush My Negotiation playbook at winmynegotiation.com, because preparation is your best defense against a narcissist as well. And finally, it's crucial to present a clear and consistent narrative throughout your case. Covert narcissists thrive on confusion and misdirection. So your job is to simplify and keep it super clear for the judge. All right. The judge hears lots and lots of stuff all day long. So the more you can keep it clear, the more you can keep it streamlined, the better it's going to be for you. So use your evidence, use your witness testimony, strategic questioning, and weave the narrative super clearly so that the narcissist's true nature is so obvious. Avoid getting bogged down in minor details, because then it's all tangential and it just goes all over the place. And don't allow the narcissist to distract you in all that over there either. Stay focused on the big picture, revealing the pattern of manipulation, deceit, or harm. When the judge can see the full scope of the narcissist's behavior, it becomes much harder for them to maintain their facade.